The only thing worse than your wife learning that you signed up to be the 1,000th man in the next Bonnie Blue video would be drafting fantasy football players that ends up sinking your fantasy team. In today's video, we're going to be going over 7 players in depth who I will be 100% avoiding in 2025 fantasy football. But before we get into these 7 players that you guys should be avoiding as well, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. So without further ado, let's get into 7 players that I'm 100% avoiding in 2025 fantasy football. We begin with the first player that I am going to be avoiding in 2025 fantasy football drafts, and that is going to be A.J. Brown, wide receiver of the Philadelphia Eagles, current sleeper ADP wide receiver 10 at pick 17. So if you are in a 12-man fantasy football league, then he is going to go in the 2nd round as the 5th pick in that round. Now, A.J. Brown is a player that I think is a phenomenal talent. I don't want to come across as someone that believes that A.J. Brown is a terrible wide receiver, right? There are a ton of NFL teams that would do insane things in order to get A.J. Brown as the wide receiver 1 on their team, right? He is a phenomenal player, and it is very hard to argue about that. If you look at his efficiency, he is 2nd in yards per route run, 4th in yards per target, 9th in yards per reception, 1st in yards per team pass attempt. This is a wide receiver that a whole lot of teams, like I said, would do all types of crazy things, give out some gawk 9,000 specials in order to have A.J. Brown as their wide receiver 1. And I believe in the player that is A.J. Brown. But there is a clear problem here. A.J. Brown is on a team that wants to run the ball. A.J. Brown is on a team that has a phenomenal offensive line, and when they are in the red zone, you can be very sure that a majority of the time the ball is going to be in 2 players' hands. That's either going to be Jalen Hurts getting pushed into the end zone, maybe Jalen Hurts just running it into the end zone from like the 5-yard line, or they're going to hand the rock to Saquon Barkley over and over and over until he topples into the end zone and they score a touchdown. So in terms of red zone opportunities, A.J. Brown is incredibly limited. And the fact that this is a team that wants to run the ball gently down the stream, and this is a team that is so good that is up late in games, they are going to be running the ball a ton late in games instead of throwing the football, which leads to A.J. Brown getting less targets. Now, A.J. Brown could definitely finish as a top 12 wide receiver. So I don't want to necessarily say that A.J. Brown is going to completely bend your team over the table and screw you over. But in my opinion, there are just so many other players that I would rather draft around that spot over A.J. Brown due to the fact that I believe they are going to see a whole lot more volume game in and game out. And I believe that they have upside to score more touchdowns than A.J. Brown. Last year, he was the wide receiver 20 in PPR, 13 in PPR points per game. He finished with the 39th highest amount of targets. He had 97 targets, 67 receptions, 1,079 receiving yards, and 7 total touchdowns. Again, A.J. Brown is a phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal wide receiver, and he is going to have a top 18 wide receiver season in fantasy football if he stays healthy and plays all 17 games. But his upside, in my opinion, to be that top 5, top 3, maybe even number 1 wide receiver just is not there for me. And when I am investing a 2nd round pick into a player, I want to have that idea where I can paint the picture of how that player finishes as the running back 1, as the wide receiver 1, right? Is the reason why I win my league. And frankly, I just don't believe you could paint that picture for A.J. Brown. And for that reason, I am out on him at the 2nd round draft capital. And frankly, he might go even earlier in the 2nd round in some of your guys' leagues because A.J. Brown has big name value. Next up, we move to Josh Allen, quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, sleeper ADP quarterback 1 at pick number 20. So currently coming off the board as the 8th pick inside of the second round. Now, just like we just discussed about A.J. Brown, I think Josh Allen is a phenomenal player. As a Dolphins fan, I can't stand Josh Allen because he always does the Irish jig on our hopes and dreams, right? You finally think maybe the Dolphins will finally do something, and then bada bing, bada boom, step inside the room. Josh Allen ends up whacking the Miami Dolphins and throwing them off the edge of the boat like Big Pussy in The Sopranos, right? Josh Allen is the Grim Reaper for the Miami Dolphins, and while that does suck, frankly, I have nothing to say that's negative about the guy. The biggest problem for Josh Allen is when you draft a guy as the quarterback one, if he does not finish as the quarterback one, that is a humongous disappointment, especially when you are paying the draft capital to get Josh Allen inside of the second round. Frankly, I believe in your normal redraft league, taking a quarterback in the first, the second round is completely shooting your fantasy football team in the foot. There's so much value, so many high-skilled running backs, wide receivers going in this range that I really believe you are making a gigantic mistake taking a guy like Josh Allen inside of the second round. That is a pick where you could end up getting a running back that ends up winning you your league by themselves. I'm talking about potentially in some leagues, Christian McCaffrey could fall that far. We are talking about the Josh Jacobs, the Bucky Irving, the type of players that have the upside, the ceiling to be the running back one. Again, this isn't some diatribe on why I believe Josh Allen sucks donkey dick, right? Why I believe that Josh Allen is going to end up being this momentous, this gigantic bust for fantasy football. I think he's going to easily finish as a top 4 quarterback. But if you draft him as the quarterback one and he doesn't return that value and you are missing out on these potential league-winning running backs, these league-winning wide receivers, it is a big mistake in my opinion. Last season, Josh Allen threw the ball the 14th most times, had the 14th most passing yards. He was 7th in passing touchdowns at a 5.8% rate with 28. He threw just 7 interceptions. He had 102 carries, 4th at quarterback, 531 rushing yards, 5th, 12 rushing touchdowns, 2nd. He was 3rd in fantasy points per dropback, 9th in yards per attempt, and 1st in QBR. Again, Josh Allen is a fantastic player. Josh Allen has the skills to be the quarterback one in fantasy football, but when you're coming off the board inside the second round, to me, that is a huge glaring risk you are taking, drafting quarterback, missing out on those skill position players. And inside the second round, frankly, I just cannot pay that price. If that was Jaden Stormy Daniels, if that was Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, all guys that I have inside the top 4th quarterback position, I think you are crazy taking them inside the second round. Of course, if you're in a super flex league, then Josh Allen could be the number 1 pick because it makes sense in that scenario if you're in a super flex, a 2 quarterback league. But in a normal redraft league, taking Josh Allen in the second round to me is malpractice. Next up, we move to his teammate, James Cook, running back of the No One Circles the Wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Sleeper ADP, running back 13 at pick 37, which is going to be the first pick inside of the 4th round. Now, James Cook was a guy that I steamed up last season. I waxed poetically about James Cook. I talked about all the upside. What happens if James Cook gets a little bit lucky? I'm up all night to get lucky type deal, right? And he ends up finding his way into the end zone more. If James Cook ends up scoring more touchdowns, this is a guy that could be a league winner. And James Cook ended up scoring more touchdowns, and he was really fucking good based upon where you drafted him. But, and this is a big but, shout out to Bailey, who's in the WWE, James Cook is the kind of guy that could end up imploding your fantasy football team. Why is that? For one, there is potential of a holdout. There is potential that James Cook wants that big contract. He wants that big bag, that hefty bag. He sounds like my fucking wife, always wanting a new bag, right? That's what James Cook wants. He wants a new bag. He wants more money. he wants more money, and I don't know if the Buffalo Bills are going to whip out that checkbook and say, hey, James Cook, here's your new fucking money, here's your new contract. I don't know if that's going to happen. And if that doesn't happen, we could see a holdout. And even if you're like, Nick, worrying about a holdout in June is fugazi, awazi, awoozy, don't worry about that. What I'm really worried about is the fact that James Cook wasn't all that efficient last year. They have other running backs on the team that could take goal line opportunities. They have Josh Allen who could take goal line opportunities. And this motherfucker scored 18 total touchdowns last season. 16 games played, 18 total touchdowns, number 2 at running back. So if you peel back the touchdowns, James Cook was pretty much just mid last season. So if I project that the touchdowns could just go away a little bit and you're the running back 11 in points per game, you could easily become a terrible pick when you're coming off the board as the running back number 13. Again, I think James Cook is a fine player. I liked him last year and it ended up paying dividends. The guy's a good enough running back to succeed in fantasy. But I just don't project him to be able to keep up 18 total touchdowns, especially when you have Josh Allen, who, if he scored 16, 17 rushing touchdowns, would you be shocked if they could figure out how to give him the tush push? No, you wouldn't be. So James Cook, to me, knowing the contract situation, knowing the fact that 207 carries, 1,009 rushing yards, 38 targets, 32 receptions, 258 receiving yards, He's fine, right? 5.3 yards per touch, 12th. He was 14th in dominator rating. Again, he's a fine enough running back, but I just don't really see James Cook paying off to be like that top 8, top 6 guy. So for me, right now, I'm really going to start peeling back on my ranking of James Cook, especially with the contract situation not being crystal clear. Next up, we move to Kenneth Walker III, Sir Kenneth Walker, running back of the Seattle Seahawks, current sleeper ADP, running back 15 at pick 44 at the 4.8. Now, both James Cook and Kenneth Walker are currently coming off the board inside of the 4th round, and I believe that you are making a grave mistake if you take either of those running backs. Now, Kenneth Walker is a talented running back. I think you might be able to argue that Kenneth Walker might be more talented than James Cook. The problem here is Kenneth Walker, now I'm as much of a doctor as Johnny Sin, so I'm not going to prescribe Kenneth Walker and say Kenneth Walker is guaranteed to get hurt, because that would just be stupid for me to say, right? You can't predict any injury. Any player you draft could get hurt. Any player you draft could end up getting shot based upon what we have seen over the last couple of years. And I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm being serious. That's happened to multiple players over the last couple of years. Kenneth Walker is a skilled player, but are we so 100% sure that he is better than Zach Charbonnet? Because what happens if Kenneth Walker goes down and misses 2 games and Zach Charbonnet plays like he played last season? I think there is more than a non-zero chance that Zach Charbonnet ends up taking the workload away from Kenneth Walker. I also think there's a chance that this is much less or much more of a backfield by committee. I'm not saying that Kenneth Walker is going to get outsnapped by Zach Charbonnet or anything week 1 if they're both healthy, but I'm saying this could be much more of a snap split share compared to what we are used to with Kenneth Walker, who's coming off the board as the running back 15. He missed 11 games last year, 2 games missed with the oblique, 2 games with the calf injury, and 2 games with the ankle sprain. In Kenneth Walker's NFL career, he played 11 games last year, 15 the year prior, and 15 in 2022. Again, I'm not trying to sit here and say it's a guarantee that he's going to get hurt, but if he does get hurt, I think this job could get ripped from him very, very quickly. 153 carries last year, 573 rushing yards, 53 targets, 46 receptions, 299 receiving yards, 8 total touchdowns. 5th in terms of juke rates, right? He's a very much a boom or bust runner on any given play. What I mean by that is you're either going to see Kenneth Walker do something bananas, right? Where he jukes a guy out of his socks, right? He does a fucking spin move like he's playing NFL Street back in the early 2000s, right? He's going to do some crazy highlight play and run straight to the cribbo. Or he's going to get 3 men just straight up tackling him the second he gets the football behind the line of scrimmage. I also don't really think the Seahawks offense gets better with the change at quarterback. And if it does, I think it's going to be very, very minimum. Again, is Kenneth Walker a fine running back? Yes. He is, in my opinion, and the upside is there. We have seen top 12 games out of him countless times, but in my opinion, with Kenneth Walker's injury history, with the fact that it wouldn't shock me if he goes down, that Zach Charbonnet takes over, for me, I am just not taking him inside of the 4th round. I think that is not a very smart decision this season. Next up, we move to Chris Olave, wide receiver of the New Orleans Saints. Sleeper ADP, wide receiver 27 at pick 59. Currently coming off the board as the 11th pick inside of the 5th round. If you guys have enjoyed today's video thus far, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below like it owes you some money, and leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. I would also like to give you guys a quick word for our friends, our partner over at Underdog. Underdog has a great offer for you guys today. If you are a first-time depositor using promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description, you will get a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 in bonus cash, as well as a free pick, which is going to be SGA higher than half of a total point. If you guys are new to Underdog, they also have fantasy football drafts, which is my favorite thing to do on Underdog. Their biggest contest right now is going to be Best Ball Mania, $15 million in prizes, $2 million to first place, $25 to enter. They also have smaller contests on there if you want to do a smaller buy-in. I love Best Ball over on Underdog. The best part about Best Ball is it's the draft, and that's it. No waivers, no trades, no in-season management. Underdog automatically puts the highest scores into your lineup every single week. If you want to draft with me, check out Underdog, promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description. Back on into things here. Now, Chris Olave is a guy that for his NFL career has definitely been a letdown. Now, I don't think the full reason why he's been a letdown is because Chris Olave is bad or because Chris Olave is doing anything necessarily wrong, right? Like he just for some reason can't catch the football or he's not able to get open. Like, I do think Chris Olave is a very talented wide receiver. And I think in another situation, if you just gave him like a mid-tier quarter, like if you just gave him Derek Carr from 5 years ago, Chris Olave would put up big seasons, but frankly, he has been given a really shit role at things when it comes to quarterback play for the New Orleans Saints, and it's very hard for me to come on here and outright project that the quarterback situation is significantly better this season compared to in the past, right? We're talking about Tyler Shuck, we're talking about Spencer Rattler, and to me, that just screams, even though Chris Olave is clearly the best wide receiver on this team, it's not going to be a good role again for him, especially since it seems like the offense really wants to run through Alvin Kamara. Wide receiver 93 last year in PPR, 56 in points per game. He suffered 2 concussions last season, missing 1 game with the first one, and then just 3 weeks later, he got a second concussion and put him out for the remainder of the season. 9 total games with the second one, 1 game with the original one. Now, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to sit here like some people will say and be like, oh, Chris Olave should retire because this, that, and the other thing. I watched that Will Smith movie with the concussion, right? I know more than you, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that Chris Olave should retire, but what I'm saying is if he gets another one, it starts to become a very, very, very big issue where he could miss a bunch of time yet again. And the quarterback situation could be putting him in scenarios where he potentially gets fucked up again because of it. Again, I believe in Chris Olave. I believe that the guy has talent. 30th in target separation, 20th in yards per out run, 28th in yards per target, 1st in contested catch rate. If you put the ball near him, the guy is going to catch it. But I just don't believe in the quarterback situation enough, and I believe very strongly that this is a team that really wants to run through Alvin Kamara, even when the game is out of hand, right? Even when things are going tits up, they just dump the ball off to Alvin Kamara 1 zillion times in a row. So Chris Olave Olave, again, I believe the talent is there, but with how many times this guy has completely reamed you over his NFL career, and based upon the fact that he's still going inside the top 6 rounds, that's just not a price I'm willing to pay for Chris Olave when the quarterback situation is this rough. Next up, we move to Brian Robinson Jr., running back of the Washington Commanders, sleeper ADP running back 31 at pick 86, the 8.2. Now, in my opinion, Brian Robinson is probably the least exciting player that you can draft at the running back position this season. Now, it's not that I think Brian Robinson, again, I've probably saw a broken record, I don't think Brian Robinson is a bad running back, and if he scores a touchdown, he could have that top 12 game. But if he doesn't score the touchdown, you end up leaving yourself scratching at your head, and you also leave yourself wondering why you even drafted this motherfucker, because he's not a bell cow running back, right? If this guy was getting 17, 18 carries a game with his skill set, which again, I don't think he's like this elite runner, 36th in true yards per carry, 35th in yards per touch, 32nd in dominator rating, like he could put up fine fantasy performances repeatedly, right? Top 18-ish games based on sheer volume alone. We see it all the time, right? One of these mainstays at running back goes down, and then some random schlub you've never heard of gets the crack at it, and 2 weeks in a row, the guy is dominant, 50 Shades of Grey style. He puts up a huge game, right? We see it because at the running back position, sure, if you're a really great talent, you can put up crazy numbers with 13 carries a game, 12 carries a game, right? And if you are a crazy talent and you're getting a crazy amount of touches like Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, you could break fantasy football. But Brian Robinson sees a kind of meh amount of touches. Sure, he's on a great offense, but they have other running backs as well, and Jaden Stormy Daniels can run the rock as well. 8 total touchdowns last year, 187 carries, 799 rushing yards, 25 targets, 20 receptions, 159 receiving yards. Another thing, again, is the guy just isn't a pass catcher. So if you're not catching passes and you're getting 13, 15 carries on a 15, 16 carries on a good day, I'm just not super excited about you. Again, if you are someone that, you know, Brian Robinson's your running back 4, right? Running back 5, you went super running back heavy, fine, right? He's a fine bye-week replacement, but I don't really see Brian Robinson's upside being like him as like this top 16, top 18 finisher. We kind of just know what he is. He's not a great running back on a great team. Sure, the team is great, right? But they have Jaden Daniels who could steal the rushing touchdowns. They have other running backs that are catching the passes. So it's just not fun to draft him. I just don't really see myself going into a draft thinking, holy shit, I got Brian Robinson. What a steal. What a steal. I'm so glad I drafted him. I don't think anyone is thinking that. Next and final player here is Cooper Kupp, wide receiver of the Seattle Seahawks. Sleeper ADP wide receiver 42 at pick 91, the 7th pick inside the 8th round right now. Now, once you kind of get past the 8th round into the 9th round, like once you're around pick 100 plus, to me, if you draft some player and I don't like them, then you know what? It is what it is, right? Because the amount of draft capital you invest at plus pick 100 past the 10th round, if that guy ends up being a bust, it's really easy to just cut them, right? That guy has 2 bad performances in a row. Get the fuck off my fantasy team, right? You can just brush him off and you're happy. It's fine. Hooray. The bad man is gone, right? But in the 8th round, if Cooper Kupp ends up as a bust, sure, you're definitely fine cutting him. And I think he will be, but it does hurt a little bit more, and some people might be stuck just crawling onto this guy due to name value, and I could see Cooper Kupp being a riser in drafts as the summer goes along, not because he does anything crazy, right? Not because training camp's going so well for him, not for any actual reason, but because more casual players are drafting, and because Cooper Kupp's a name that everyone knows. Everyone and their mother knows who Cooper Kupp is. Everyone remembers the Triple Crown season. Everyone remembers how he played in the Super Bowl up against the Cincinnati Bengals. A lot of people know who Cooper Kupp is, right? Your uncle that you play fantasy with, your cousin knows who Cooper Kupp is, right? The lady that you play with in your fantasy league who works at your office, she knows who Cooper Kupp is, right? Everyone knows who he is. he has that big name value, which could lead to his draft price getting inflated. Okay, now I like Cooper Kupp. I want to believe in Cooper Kupp, and I think Unc might still got it. But to me, there's no way he's overtaking JSN as the wide receiver 1 on the team. So if he's not getting the wide receiver 1 targets, and the quarterback situation is like literally the polar opposite to what it was with the Rams, right? I know people don't love Matthew Stafford in fantasy, and rightfully so, right? He's not the greatest fantasy quarterback, but you know, when that ball came out of his hand, that shit was going to go to Cooper Kupp with immense accuracy, pristine, a pretty ball, pause, coming through the air, and you know Cooper Kupp was going to snag that thing. But now Cooper Kupp's another year older. He is getting old, and his quarterback went from, in my opinion, a top 12 quarterback in the NFL to, you know, a back 12 quarterback in the NFL, one of the worst 12, maybe one of the worst 8 quarterbacks in the NFL. I know Sam Darnold was really good last year in Minnesota. I think that's because Kevin O'Connell put him on his back, and that's why he was so good. Cooper Kupp had some solid games last year. 59th in true catch rate, 38th in route win rate, 19th in target accuracy, which I think is going down, down, down. He only had 1 drop, which is awesome. I don't think Cooper Kupp's fully washed, but for me, when you go to the Rams, for the Seahawks, this is where Cooper Kupp goes on vacation. This is where Cooper Kupp, I know, Nick, Seattle's not a better vacation place than the Rams. You get what I mean, right? This is where his career slowly dwindles out. You're going to see a couple of big games, but I don't think we're to see much consistency out of Cooper Kupp again as he's getting older. I want Cooper Kupp to succeed. I hope he has a huge season, but frankly, I just do not see it in Seattle. So let me know down below in the comment section, what do you think about these players that I'm avoiding? Do you agree? Or are you like, Nick, you are an idiot? I love all these players. I love some of these players. Let me know. Check out one of the videos on your screen if you haven't seen them already. Hit that subscribe button down below. It helps me out a ton. Make sure you guys do check out Underdog promo code Notorious. Love you guys. Have a great one as always. Good boy.